My girlfriend wanted an open relationship, so I slept with her best friend. I slept with Emma, I said, the words hanging in the air like a death sentence. The color instantly drained from my girlfriend Sophie's face, leaving behind a mask of disbelief and horror. In that single frozen moment, the unspoken truth of our open relationship became brutally clear. Her one rule was never meant to be a two-way street. It was a get-out-of-jail-free card designed exclusively for her, and I had just called her bluff in the most devastating way possible. To understand how we got here, you need to know about the three people at the heart of this disaster. Me, my girlfriend of 3 years, Sophie, and her lifelong best friend, Emma. We were supposed to be this tight-knit trio, but the foundation of our world was fractured by a single, devastating idea Sophie introduced. She called it an open relationship, but it was anything but. She was chasing the ghost of a single phase she felt she'd been robbed of, a wild, untethered existence she could explore while keeping me safely on the hook. I wasn't a partner in this experiment. I was the safety net. It quickly became clear that this wasn't about mutual exploration. It was just Sophie's open door to do whatever she wanted, with whomever she wanted, while I was expected to just wait at home. For 3 years, Sophie was my entire world. It wasn't just a relationship. It was the bedrock of my life. We met in college, and from our first date, I knew she was different. We built a life together. Brick by brick, we adopted a rescue dog, argued over what color to paint the living room, and spent our weekends building flat-pack furniture. Our apartment wasn't just a place we lived. It was a home filled with our inside jokes and future plans. I had a diamond ring hidden in the back of my sock drawer, a secret I'd been keeping for 6 months. I was just waiting for that perfect, quiet moment on our upcoming anniversary trip to ask her to be my wife. But she beat me to it with a proposal of her own. I remember the night perfectly. I had cooked her favorite meal, and we were sitting on the couch. I thought it was going to be one of our perfect, ordinary nights. Instead, she turned to me, her expression unreadable, and dropped the bomb. "I think we should have an open relationship," she said, the words so casual they felt violent. She explained that she loved me, that she couldn't imagine her life without me, but that she felt suffocated. She'd see friends going out, dating, and felt she'd missed a crucial part of her youth by settling down so early. She insisted it wasn't about leaving me, but about personal growth, about making sure she had no regrets later in life. She even had the audacity to say it would make us stronger, that by exploring other connections, we would appreciate what we had even more. I felt the floor drop out from under me. Every dream I had for us, for our future, flickered and died in that moment. I knew she sometimes looked down on my more traditional view of love and commitment, calling me an old soul. But this felt like a fundamental betrayal of everything we had built. The thought of her with someone else, touching someone else, was a physical pain, but the thought of losing her entirely was paralyzing. So when she laid out the one and only ground rule, we can both see other people. No questions asked, no jealousy allowed. I choked back the acid taste of fear and agreed. I convinced myself that if I loved her enough, if I was patient enough, I could withstand this storm, and she would eventually come back to me. I was a fool. Sophie dove into her newfound freedom with a terrifying enthusiasm. It started with drinks after work, then evolved into weekend trips with friends I'd never heard of. There was a constant stream of new guys, new dates, new stories she'd recount to me with a chilling lack of shame, as if she were telling me about a new restaurant she'd tried. Each story was a knife twisting in my gut. Meanwhile, I was rotting from the inside out. I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep. I just sat in our apartment, surrounded by the ghosts of our happy memories, waiting for the sound of her key in the door. Her best friend, Emma, saw it all. She'd come over, using the spare key she'd had for years, and find me sitting in the dark, just staring at the wall. She was the one who would force me to eat, who would sit with me and let me talk, or just sit in silence when I couldn't find the words. She saw how hollowed out I'd become, how I was a shell of the man I used to be. She was caught in the middle, loyal to her best friend, but horrified by what Sophie was doing to me. The breaking point, the moment the sadness curdled into something colder and harder, came on a miserable Tuesday night. I was genuinely sick. I had a raging fever, chills that shook my entire body, and a headache that felt like a pickaxe chipping away at my skull. I was buried under a pile of blankets, feeling utterly pathetic. Sophie came into the bedroom, not to bring me soup or check my temperature, but to get ready for a date. I remember just staring at her as she applied her mascara in the vanity mirror, the reflection of me in the bed, behind her looking pale and broken. I asked her, my voice weak, if she could please stay. "I feel really awful," I said. She just sighed, a sound of pure annoyance. "It's just a cold," she said dismissively, turning back to her makeup. "You're being dramatic. You'll be fine," then with a spritz of perfume. She walked out the door, leaving me alone in the suffocating quiet of our once happy apartment. Lying there shivering, something in me finally snapped. The grief that had been my constant companion for months evaporated, and in its place was a cold, hard anger. Her rule, the one I had so foolishly and painfully honored, echoed in my head. "We can both see other people." Her words, her condition, it wasn't a suggestion. It was the law of our new reality. And it applied to me too. My misery didn't have to be a solo performance. My hands were shaking, partly from the fever and partly from a surge of pure rage. As I picked up my phone, my thumb hovered over the contacts before I scrolled to the one person in the world who understood exactly what Sophie was doing to me. The one person who had witnessed my slow-motion collapse, Emma. I texted her, "I'm really sick." Sophie went out. "I feel like I'm losing my mind." A half hour later, Emma was at the door. She didn't just bring medicine. She brought 2 big tubs of my favorite ice cream and a quiet, simmering rage that matched my own. She took one look at me, buried under the covers, and her expression hardened. She sat on the edge of the bed and we just talked for hours. She confessed how difficult this had been for her, watching her best friend systematically dismantle a man she cared about. She told me how Sophie had been bragging to her about how easy this was, how I was so whipped that I would just wait patiently at home for her no matter what she did. Hearing that, hearing the casual cruelty confirmed from the one person who knew all the secrets, was the final nail in the coffin. It was a moment of pure, unfiltered connection, a bond forged in the wreckage Sophie had single-handedly created. And in that shared anger and shared sadness, one thing led to another. It wasn't about revenge in that moment. It was about being seen. It was about finding a single shred of comfort in the middle of a hurricane. The next morning I waited. I didn't drink. I didn't pace. I just sat on the couch and waited for Sophie to get home from her overnight date. When she finally walked in, humming to herself, I didn't yell, I didn't accuse. I just let the silence stretch, thick and heavy, until she finally, irritably asked, "What's wrong with you now?" I looked her dead in the eye, my voice calm and steady. And I said it, I slept with Emma. The explosion was immediate and spectacular. The hypocrisy was so potent it was breathtaking. "How could you do this to me?" She screamed, her face contorted in a way I'd never seen before. "With my best friend, my best friend." She cried. She threw a vase against the wall. She accused me of destroying everything we had ever built. In her hurricane of rage, she never once acknowledged that I had simply followed the exact same rule she had been living by for months. Her freedom was liberation. My freedom was the ultimate betrayal. She saw her actions as harmless exploration, but mine were a targeted attack meant to destroy her. A week later, all of her things were gone. The movers were silent and efficient. The friendship between her and Emma was obliterated. I got a single, venomous text from Sophie calling me a monster. And then silence. Emma and I tried to talk once, but the guilt and the fallout were too much. There was no victory. There was no sense of triumph or justice. It was just over. Everything we had built for 3 years. All the love and laughter and plans. Gone in an instant because of a rule she never intended to follow herself. Months down the line, I heard through a mutual acquaintance that she and Emma still weren't speaking. We were all casualties of her selfish experiment. In the end, our open relationship was just a pretty lie to cover up an ugly truth. It was a selfish excuse for her to live a single life, with the emotional and financial safety net of my love waiting at home. I didn't agree to it because I believed in it. I agreed because I was terrified of losing her. But the truth is, I had already lost her the moment she asked for it. My actions brought everything crashing down, and while I deeply regret the collateral damage and the pain it caused Emma, it also forced us to face the toxic, one-sided reality we were living in. It was a destructive end, but it was an end to a relationship that was already dead. So here's the question I've been asking myself ever since. Was I justified in sleeping with her best friend, or did I cross a line that should never be crossed, no matter the rules?